Last quarter, Meta reported 3 billion active users on their platforms, meaning if you wanted $1,000 per day in sales and your average order value is $50, then you don't need to convince thousands of people. It's actually just 20 per day. That's like selling 20 hot dogs at the Super Bowl, or catching 20 raindrops in a thunderstorm, or even just getting 20 fans to sing along with you at a Taylor Swift concert. In this video, Andrew and I are going to walk you through our AI-powered hybrid traffic scaling method to get you to those 20 orders per day and beyond, without a huge budget, without having to spend 80 hours per week glued to your laptop, without having to take unnecessary risk with the budget that you do have, and without having to rely on paid ads or organic ads exclusively. Andrew's going to walk you through the blueprint so that you can strategize like a CEO. And then I'll walk you through an AI agent build that handles a key piece of our hybrid method so that you can manage your ads in minutes instead of hours. Let's dive in.
There's a reason Facebook ads can feel exhausting, even just the idea of it. It's what we call the paid traffic treadmill. You wake up, check the dashboard, and the numbers have shifted in a direction that you're not excited about. And to fix it, you test a new creative, adjust budget, launch another campaign, and for a day or two, it feels like you're moving forward. But before long, the cycle repeats. Traffic stalls, sales dip, panic sets in. It's progress that feels like motion, but not momentum. And the unfortunate truth is the treadmill isn't broken. It's doing exactly what it's designed to do, keeping you running without going anywhere. But there's another way. And it starts with stepping off the treadmill and into a blueprint. Not a blueprint built on adrenaline or hacks, but a blueprint built on calm math, tuned traffic, and a system that compounds without needing your constant attention every hour of the day. Because the reality is $1,000 a day in e-commerce isn't an unreachable milestone reserved for lucky founders. It's simply 20 orders a day in a lot of cases. And 20 orders a day in a marketplace of hundreds of millions of active users every single day is not only realistic, it's inevitable when you have the right system. That's what this blueprint is designed to show you. A path to $1,000 a day, $5,000 a day, $10,000 a day that feels predictable instead of chaotic, sustainable instead of stressful, and calm instead of frantic, because scaling should not feel like a sprint that you're destined to lose. It should feel like a rhythm that you can trust. And for the rest of this portion of the video, before we get into the AI agent, I'm going to walk you step by step through the blueprint we've built to make $1,000 a day not just possible, but normal for the brands that we work with and ourselves. And before we get into the components of the blueprint, if you want to make the most of every dollar you spend on ads, kind of like getting your money's worth at a buffet, we put together a free conversion compounding library packed with over 30 of our most effective website upgrades to maximize conversion rate in AOV to make every dollar that you spend on ads worth more to you. And you can get free access with the first link in the description below. So the blueprint is a system powered by AI, protected by what we call risk-reduced bidding, fueled by open budgeting, and measured by contribution margin and not vanity metrics. And when you see it laid out, you'll realize something important. And that is that the problem was never and is never going to be your effort. The problem was a treadmill, and the solution isn't running harder. It's stepping into a blueprint that finally compounds in your favor. So let's dive in, because before we get into systems, AI, or even strategy, I want to show you something that instantly takes the weight off your shoulders. It's not about grinding harder or chasing thousands of customers. It's about seeing the math for what it really is: simple, grounded, and surprisingly calming. Because once you see the numbers clearly, the $1,000 a day target, $3,000 a day target, $5,000 a day target stops feeling like a mountain and starts feeling like a series of steady steps that you can actually take. When you hear the phrase $1,000 a day, or whatever your goal is, it can initially sound impossible. Your shoulders might tighten, your mind might race, you might picture thousands of customers pouring in, an ad budget that feels out of reach, and a mountain you don't know how to climb. But here's the distinction. $1,000 a day isn't a mountain, it's a series of steps. Because when you break it down, $1,000 a day isn't about thousands of sales. It's about 20 orders, and that's it. If your average order value is $50, you don't need thousands of people buying from you every day. You just need 20. And when you see it that way, everything shifts. The goal stops feeling overwhelming and starts feeling inevitable. Because in a marketplace of hundreds of millions of active users, 20 orders is not a dream. For many brands, it's what they do every 60 seconds, especially during Q4, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And here's why this matters. When you carry the weight of a big number without breaking it down, you'll always approach growth from a place of fear and confusion. Fear that you'll never get there, fear that it's too much for you, fear that you're behind. But when you shift the lens, when you realize the number is smaller and closer than it looks, you move from fear to clarity. And clarity is calming. Think about it like climbing a staircase. If I asked you to leap 20 steps in a single jump, you'd freeze. It feels impossible. But if I asked you to take one step and then another, suddenly the impossible climb is just a sequence of small certain actions. And that's what the math does. It calms you, even if you're not a math person. It tells you you don't need to conquer the mountain today. You just need to take 20 steps. This is why we say $1,000 a day or swap in whatever number you want is not a dream number. It's a math number, and not scientific math like Einstein, just simple division. And when you see it as math, you unlock something most founders never give themselves permission to feel in their marketing. And that's peace. Because now the problem isn't how do I magically scale to $1,000 a day? The problem is simply how do I set up a system that delivers 20 orders? And systems are solvable. That's the difference between the treadmill and the blueprint. The treadmill keeps you running in circles in the same spot, chasing a big number without ever seeing progress. The blueprint reduces the chaos to something calm and achievable, one step, one order, one day at a time. And once you see the problem in that light, the overwhelm fades because you're not solving for millions of customers or endless ad spend. You're solving for a system that reliably creates, on average, 20 orders every day. And the moment you realize systems are solvable, the focus shifts. It's no longer about if you can hit $1,000 a day. It's about how you direct the system to bring you the right visitors in the first place. Because not every visitor is equal. And this is where Meta complicates things unless you know how to see the distinctions. So if $1,000 a day is just 20 orders, and that comes down to 1,000 visitors at a 2% conversion rate to be conservative, the next logical question is, where do those 1,000 visitors actually come from? This is where things get confusing inside of Meta, because Meta doesn't just give you traffic, it gives you traffic types, and each traffic type behaves differently. There's awareness traffic, the wide net designed to get eyeballs on your brand. It's cheap, it's broad, and it can give you very big looking numbers for the price you're paying. But awareness alone rarely pays the bills. Then there's engagement traffic, the likes, the comments, the shares. It feels good in the moment to see it come in. It creates buzz, it builds social proof, but it doesn't always translate into orders. And then you've got traffic campaigns designed to send people to your site. On paper, this sounds perfect. More visitors, which is what we want. But here's a nuance. After spending over $20 million on ads, 7 million of that being my money with Alfred, traffic campaigns often optimize for the click and not the customer. You'll get a flood of visits, but very few conversions. And finally, there's sales traffic. This is where the platform does the heavy lifting, optimizing for actual purchases. These campaigns cost more, but they convert higher because they're tuned to the signal that matters, which is orders. And now here's the important distinction. All traffic is not created equal. Sending 1,000 people to your site means nothing if those people were optimized for clicks instead of conversions. It's the equivalent to filling a stadium with people who came for free tickets, then wondering why nobody buys merchandise. But when you build your system around sales traffic, suddenly the numbers line up. You don't just get visits, you get the right visits. And that's how the math works. That's how 1,000 visitors becomes 20 orders, and 20 orders becomes $1,000 a day. The temptation will always be to chase cheaper traffic. The awareness, the engagement, the vanity metrics, it feels like progress. It looks like momentum, but that's the treadmill. Clicks, likes, and even site visits, they're just noise for most brands until they've fully exhausted sales traffic. The blueprint that we have today is about tuning your system to signal. And when you do that, you stop asking, why aren't my visitors buying? Because you'll know the answer. You've been buying noise if you've been using these other traffic types. The blueprint shifts you into buying signal instead. And that's when the whole system starts to compound. And that's the shift that changes everything. Because once you see the difference between noise and signal, you stop obsessing over why sales aren't happening and start asking a more empowering question, which is how much signal can I buy and at what pace? That's the moment the conversation stops being about frustration and starts being about design. And once you understand that the real growth comes from signal traffic and not noise, a new question naturally comes up. How much should I actually spend to get that signal? And this is where so many of us can get stuck. We know we need more of the right visitors, and we freeze when it comes to budget because the default fear is always the same. I don't want to spend too much. I don't want to overspend. I don't want to lose money on unprofitable spend. And it sounds reasonable. Nobody wants to waste money. But here's the distinction. Budget is rarely the problem because if you think about it, if you had a machine that turned every dollar into 5, would you stop at a small budget? I know I wouldn't. You'd keep feeding the machine. And so the real problem isn't the size of your budget. The real problem is efficiency. And the metric that truly matters isn't just return on ad spend. It's something deeper. It's something that I call yield per dollar. And yield per dollar asks, for every dollar I invest into the system, how much contribution margin do I actually make back? Not just revenue, not just vanity metrics with likes, shares, comments, but contribution margin, which is the money that you have left over after variable costs that fuel growth. When you measure this way, everything changes. Instead of saying, I don't want to spend much, you begin asking, how many dollars can I responsibly put into the system while still maintaining the yield I expect? And that's a completely different posture. One of them is fear-based and the other is strategically opportunity-based. And this is exactly how professional investors think. They don't obsess over how little they can invest. They set a clear yield expectation. And when an opportunity meets that yield, they deploy capital confidently, because when you fixate just on budget alone, you stay stuck on the treadmill, the paid traffic treadmill. You constantly trying to spend less, terrified that every dollar could be the one that breaks you. But when you focus on yield per dollar, you start to see ads not as an expense, but as an asset and tool. And this is where AI and our approach of what we call risk-reduced bidding enter the picture, because the blueprint we use is designed to protect our yield. Instead of gambling with your budget, you're guiding it like a disciplined fund manager. And when you operate this way, you stop asking the question, what's the least that I can spend? You start asking, how much capital can I responsibly deploy today, as long as my yield is protected? That's the shift from fear to operational freedom, from budget caps to what we call open possibility. And it's the reason $1,000 a day stops being a wish and starts being inevitable. So if yield per dollar is the metric that matters, the next question becomes, how do you actually protect it? Because in theory, anyone can say, I want a strong yield. But in practice, markets like Meta's ad auction system are volatile. Costs shift, competition changes, and the fear of one bad day wiping out your budget creeps in. This is where we borrow from the way large investment funds operate. They don't bet the farm on a single move. They don't throw money in blindly and hope for the best. They deploy capital in waves, carefully measured with guardrails to reduce risk while still capturing upside. It's the same principle here. And by the way, if you want your ad dollars to go further so that every visitor means more profit to you, I want you to grab access to the conversion compounding library down below. It's free with over 30 upgrades to your website to increase conversion rate, AOV, and profit per session. So we use what I call risk-reduced bidding. Instead of locking yourself into a rigid spend or chasing cheap clicks, risk-reduced bidding allows a system powered by AI to adjust your spend dynamically. Think of it like a thermostat. If the room gets too hot, the system cools it. If it cools down too much, the system heats it. That's how big funds think. They create systems that manage volatility for them so they don't have to sit at the controls all day. And here's where our concept of the open budget concept comes in, because it can be tempting to set hard caps. I'll only spend this much today. It feels safe, but the challenge is that it limits possibility, because what if the system is delivering a strong yield today? In this case here, on these two particular days, we saw that spend actually went up while efficiency maintained, because we used an open budget. Why would you stop it from compounding? And so open budget flips the posture. Instead of saying, I can only spend this much, period, you say, I'm open to spending as much as the system can profitably deploy. And because risk-reduced bidding is constantly protecting your yield, you're not gambling. You're scaling responsibly. Some days that might mean $300 in spend for a particular ad. Other days it might mean $1,200 and others might mean $3,000. The point isn't the exact number. The point is that you're aligned with the market, capturing as much profitable volume as it will give you and pulling back when the yield weakens. It's ebb and flow and it's not force. And that's how you move from anxious, micromanaged campaigns to calm compounding growth, because you're not chasing the budget anymore. You're guiding the system. And once you let the system do what it's designed to do, you finally stop asking, how much should I spend today? Instead, you start asking, how much profitable growth can the system unlock for me today? And that's a very different game. And once you start playing that game, the whole landscape changes, because growth no longer depends on how much energy you pour in day by day. It depends on how well the architecture is designed. And the best architectures aren't complex. They're simple enough to run on their own, yet strong enough to scale without breaking. And it's a simple system because as hybrid operators, we choose simplicity over complexity. So let me give you the overview of the steps first, and then we'll unpack each one with examples. So step one, we use AI to accelerate our ability to generate organic content at scale for us. You post thesis-driven status updates daily. These posts are not slop. They are crafted through hybrid intelligence, not generated with artificial intelligence. And there's a distinction there in that we are crafting using hybrid intelligence between you and the AI. The second step is we allow Meta to populate the people who engage with the content into custom audiences that then get retargeted in step three. So in step three, what we do is we ensure that our ad account stays stocked up with always on ad creatives, and we don't micromanage it. We use hybrid bidding to lower our risk and allow us to keep our ad management time to less than 30 minutes each week. And then in step four, conversions and sales come in through architecture as opposed to effort. We don't want to brute force our way to these conversions. We want to architect our way there. These 4 steps allow us to generate sales around the clock every day in less than 30 minutes per week, as opposed to 30 hours per week, which we did in the past. And again, as hybrid operators and not traditional operators, we design for architecture and not effort. We want to build to be able to vanish and take time off and not just survive. And we run machines in 2025 and beyond. We don't just run teams. So step one is hybrid content scaling. And we've done over 15 million views in the last month with this content through this hybrid process. And this is what the content looks like. This is what we call thesis-driven status updates. You state a thesis that your addressable market will resonate with. In this case, with the brand I Heart Dogs, which is a very large brand, you can see examples of them doing it here, and they're getting thousands of likes, hundreds of likes, and lots of people engaging with the page. And what's even cooler is when we do this, and we've been doing this for about a year now, but more intensely since winter of this year, is we are getting paid by Meta along the way. They've cut us checks every month through their bonus program because our content gets reach, just like those 15 million views in the last month. So in essence, and literally, they are paying us to make our ad system more hands-off and more effective for us. So in June over here, we got paid $653. And in July, we got paid $991. So again, it's not slop. People, humans, you and I, we do not engage with slop because we don't just rely on AI to craft this content, right? We're not just generating content with AI. We are crafting it with hybrid intelligence. These are humans liking, sharing, commenting our stuff and giving it scale. So then they're getting populated into our custom audiences in step 2. And also Meta is cutting us checks. And you can see here, some days our content is getting almost 1 million views in a single day. And on the low end, it's getting 250K views. Step 2 is we are using automated custom audience building. And this is where we allow Meta to populate people who engage with the content into custom audiences that get retargeted through our ads. And there is some nuance here. The first is that we build up engagement through on-platform activity. So when people like a post, when they share a post, when they comment, and they're actually reading the post, they get placed into custom audiences. That allows Meta to keep a record of who's done stuff with our page. The second nuance is we also have a link in the first comment of each post. So you can see here with this page, Dog Lovers, where the red arrow is, you can see that it leads to a link, pupvine.com, and it's a blog post. And the link is where extra magic happens because it's a link that goes to a blog post that is contextual to the status post that we make. And this gives Meta even more signal on who to add to our custom audiences. And on top of that, a portion of those people will end up browsing the website and browsing the store and then going off to buy stuff, not even having to be retargeted. So it's a hybrid benefit that we get. And then with step 3, what we have is always on ads in our ad account using hybrid bidding. The common pattern that you'll notice across top brands is that they have hundreds, if not thousands of active ads running at any given time. So see here with Purdy and Fig, they're doing, I think, 70 to 100 million a year now, 2,000 active ads right here. Ridge, 670 ads. Bamboo Earth, 300 active ads. Meta has been very encouraging of having more ads and more diversity. And Hormozi quoted Meta that the best advertisers test 11 times more creative than the average advertiser. So in our approach, because we optimize for architecture and not effort as hybrid operators, we make decisions that allow us to do that, which lead us to hybrid bidding. So we pair always on ads with it, so we keep our ad management time low. We leverage 2 types of bidding. The first is highest volume bidding through cost controls that Meta offers us. And the second is highest value bidding, which is also through cost controls. By using Meta's cost control functions, we're able to tell Meta not just how much budget we want to spend, but also how efficient we want the spend to be. So if you're working with Mark at Meta, right? He's your advertiser. Rather, he's getting you distribution through the advertising. When you don't use hybrid bidding, you say, hey, Mark, go spend $1,000 a day. That is my budget, right? And just get me sales. But when you use hybrid bidding, you tell Mark, hey, you can spend up to $1,000 a day, but only spend it and only spend portions of it if you can get sales at $30 per sale or make $3 for every $1 that you spend. And by using this hybrid bidding method, we're able to keep our ad management activity minimal because we've directed Meta what to do instead of just delegating what we want it to do. Directing is when you give important detail, like what your target cost per conversion is or what your ROAS goal is. Delegating, on the other hand, is when you give limited direction and detail. You just say, hey, Mark, just go spend this money. I hope you make me sales. Which leads us to step 4. So step 4 is conversions through architecture. You just let the conversions come in through architecture of the system that we're running here, as opposed to through effort and sweating it out. If things are not where we want them to be, we solve for it through the system and not effort. We don't just try to do more for the sake of doing more. We don't just try to brute force with more hard work. We figure out where in the system along these steps we are under leverage and underperforming, and we solve for that. Now, Alfred will walk you through an AI agent build that does the loading of ads for you so you can focus on the content and creatives that scale your system instead of working in the system loading ads yourself.
All right, so this is our AI agent in N8N. And it works by making use of 2 sub workflows. So the first one here is uploading images to Facebook. So that's this workflow here. What this workflow does is it takes the images or the videos that you have from Google Drive and brings it into your Facebook. And then the second workflow, what it does is it allows you to take those images and make ads with them. And so if you watch the previous version of our video on our Facebook ads loading agent, then you are probably our AI agent in N8N. And it works by making use of 2 sub workflows. So the first one here is uploading images to Facebook. So that's this workflow here. What this workflow does is it takes the image you have from Google Drive and brings it into your Facebook. And then the second workflow, what it does is it allows you to take those images and make ads with them. And so if you watch the previous version of our video on our Facebook ads loading agent, then you are probably familiar with these 2 sub workflows. Now we've made a couple of modifications in them to give you more options on how they work. But there's a new workflow that we've added, and it's this one here. So this one is a template wizard. So if you watched the previous version, you know that we used spreadsheets where there's a campaign sheet, ad set sheet, and ads sheet. And if you didn't see it, then, well, you're looking at the sheets right now. You have to basically fill these sheets out. Use these sheets to specify the different settings that you want to use when you're uploading your ads. But what some of you was that you weren't sure what kind of settings or what kind of values you should be adding into the spreadsheet, slightly so different than the. So what we've done is we've built this workflow. Is it takes you through a wizard, which asks you a bunch of questions and spits out a settings already pre-configured. So that's sort of the high-level view of what we're going to be looking at today. So why don't we first just do a quick demo of showing the AI agent in action. So if you remember, what we did previously is the agent works out of Slack, right? Say execute workflow. We're in the inactive mode, so rest mode, so we can actually see the agent in action. What we're going to do is we're going to say, and choose the app here, we're going to say upload images to Facebook. Okay. And so it's going to run through here, and it's going to say, okay, before I proceed, please confirm that your images are in the folder. So that's, so, it's just a double check. So we can go here, we can see we've got our images in the folder that we specified. So now we can go back and just say, yep, we've confirmed it now. Yes, images confirmed in the folder. Okay, so we can just, sorry, we have to execute workflow as well. So there we go, now it's running. And as it's going to through this workflow here. And so what it's going to be doing is it's going to be grabbing the folder ID that we've specified in here. And it's basically checking this folder, seeing if there's any images or videos, right? And it's walking through and saying, okay, well, we're going to create a folder and we're going to create a new file, right? The new file is going to specify the images we're uploading. The folder is where we're going to drop all the files in after we're done. And then it's going to see doing a video or are we doing an image, which branch we go. It's going to use different settings because uploading image and uploading a video has different API settings when we're interacting with the Facebook marketing API, and then it just updates the sheet. So here we see everything's completed and we actually get a Slack message back. So why don't we take okay, so it says here the images have successfully uploaded to Facebook. Here are the details. We've got an image, we've got an image hash, we've got some other information here. So what we can do is we can actually go into media sheets, and it just generated a new file right here. So this is the file we've just created. And you can see here, we've got two files, right? One prompted logo, a copy of the prompted logo.png, and the other one is mobile video 2.mp4. So we actually come back here, you can see mobile video 2, copy of the prompted. So those are the two files, and you can see it actually finds it. And then it just gives us an image hash or a video ID, depending on whether it's a video or see right there. If it's an image, we get a hash. If it's a video, we get a video ID. What we also get is a formula that creates a preview image. So let's just allow access here. So here we can actually see a quick preview of video is so that we know what we're looking at. It just kind of helps us when working later. So we've created a spreadsheet where we have these as Facebook, and what we can do with them to bring them into our and upload images or upload with those values. And so say, for example, here, this is a template, which I'll show you how to generate later, but you can see here, we have, say, Facebook image hash, right? So we can actually take the image hash from here and drop it right in here. And then this preview, if we want to remember what this image is, we can actually copy and paste the preview URL and throw it here as well. So why don't we do that? We can say image hash, I'm going to throw that into the image hash column, and the preview URL, we're going to drop that right into here. Okay, and we're going to allow access, and I'm just going to delete this row. Okay, so now we have our image hash and our preview, and we can say go ahead and upload the create ads based on these details, right? So we have details on what our campaign should be. It's a cost cap with a sales objective. We've got ad sets. So we actually, because this is a cost cap, then we have set the bid amount on the ad set. And then we've got our ad set details. And then we've got all of our ad details here. So now, once we have the template, you can actually copy and paste this format and make, copy it multiple times. So you can create 10, 15, 20, 50 ads all at once with a click of a button. Once you've set up this create, you can actually put it in different ad sets. You can create and put the ads in those different headline text, right? You can change the copy. You've got all the customization that you could do directly in Ads Manager, but we're doing a spreadsheet that, and clicking one button essentially, or chatting with our agent to just upload all that detail that we've put into these spreadsheets directly into Facebook without having to click all those buttons ourselves. Okay, so let's use this example here. We have this one ad that we want to create. So what we can do is we can go back to workflow and let's just activate it so we can, and then we can say, please upload ads to Facebook. And we can say, yeah, let's do that. Okay, so it says, okay, please provide the Google File ID. Right. So that's the template that we just created. So we're going to say, we just had this one here. So we're going to grab the file ID because we're going to have lots of different, in case we have different instances where we're uploading ads, we just want to maybe keep some of the history of our uploading. So Google File IDs to upload in different scenarios. Okay, so the Google File ID is, and we've updated the hashes, image hashes. Okay, so let's do that. And let's make sure our workflow is executing. Okay, so now it's running, and you can see here, it's now working through this sub-workflow, the second sub-workflow. This is the one where we're going to be creating campaigns first, ad sets, and then ads. So how this works is it grabs the Google File ID, which we've specified earlier, right? And it's going to be first reading the campaign tab from our template right here. So this one here, it's going to read this information, and it's going to use it to create the campaign. And then next is going to use that information to create the ad sets. And then the third one is going to read the ads tab, recreating the ads. And so we're creating the ads, making an API call to the Facebook Marketing API. And so that's what we're doing here. And then we're working through and just putting it all together. So we can go back to our main workflow here, and you can see that it's completed. So why don't we open up our Slack again to see what we got here. So we can say have successfully been created. Here are the details. And so it gives us the campaign details, ad set details, ads details, and the ID, right? And so if you hop into Ads Manager, you're going to see all of that, all of those being created. Okay, here we go. We can see that these, here is the campaign we just created, right? So 12202, et cetera, 500495, right? So that's the campaign we just created, and the ad set that we created, right? And the ads that were created. Well, in this case, it's just a single ad, right? And so if we open this up, we can see that we have all the information from our Google Sheets template that was loaded up into our ad. So if I just scroll down a little bit, you can see we've got our example.com domain, right? We've got our image in here. We've got our primary text, headline, description, right? That's just what we had typed out, right? Just as basic information, et cetera, right? So all of this was found from our template here. And so as you can imagine, as you copy and paste more columns, you can just chatting with Slack, you can upload 10, 20, 30, 100 ads all at once. And all you have to do is just change some text in your spreadsheets here. So that's the high level overview of how the ads loader works. Now we can do this with images. We can do this with video. You can have different image formats. So if you want it to be optimized for mobile and desktop, all in the same ad, you can use multiple placements. You can do it for CBO, ABO, right? So campaign budget optimization, ad set budget optimization, lowest cost cap, right? All things are possible. And all you have to do is you just change the different settings in the spreadsheet. Now, you might be asking me, how do I know what I should be putting in optimization goal, for example, if I want to change one of my settings, or how do I change the bid strategy if I want to go to lowest cost or bid cap? So that's why we built this tool here. So this is a template wizard. And what this workflow does is it allows us to build out a template sheet like this that you can then work off of and copy and paste the lines so that you know exactly how to set it up. So let me just show you how this works. So I'm going to bring this back here. Okay, so we're going to call this template wizard here, and we're just going to use a / command, and we're going to pop open a modal box with some questions to answer. So basically we're going to be creating a new template here, a new spreadsheet, and it's going to ask us, are you creating a new campaign or using an existing one? So let's say we're creating a new one. Are we using a new ad set or an existing one, right? So let's say we're using a new ad set as well. budget mode. Let's say we're using CBO. We're doing cost in this case, and then we're going to do single image, multi-format images, or video. So let's do multi-format images, for example. Okay, so we're going to go to the next step. And there we go. Okay, so we're going to give this campaign a name. So we'll call it demo campaign name. And we're going to give this a budget. So sure, let's do $100, right? Okay, so I just have to click this button in between every time because we're inactive, right? Because I want to show you as it's working through. So I'll hit next, and you can see it activates the workflow, and so it's working through here. And so what we're doing here is we're actually working through the different steps of our wizard, right? So we've just gone through step 3, right? We've already done step 1 and 2, and we are going to give the ad set name. So we'll call this demo ad set name. And you can see here, it automates the campaign name that we used previously. We can always change this, but it needs to, but if you're creating a new campaign, then you're most likely going to be using the existing, the campaign name that you created in the previous step. Okay, so there's some other settings here that you can choose, right? But let's just move along and just keep those as default. And then now it's going to execute and bring up step 4, right here. You can see we're creating the ad settings now. Demo ads. And then you see the name that we created in the previous step. And now you have some settings that you can set here. Now, some of these are optional. They're not actually, but I've set them as optional in the wizard because maybe you don't know maybe you don't know some of these values right now, right? Because you just want so that you can fill it in Google Sheets afterwards and right away. So let's say, for example, this image hash, right? We uploaded it earlier. We uploaded some images earlier, right? So we have a hash and you just wanted the template. Then you can always put something temporary, temp and square, right? The reason why you have hash coming twice is because this is a multi-format image. So, which means you might have an image, the same image, but one's optimized for mobile and one's optimized for desktop. And so that's what the purpose of this is. Primary text, right? You could say, temp primary text and temp description. Right, so you can put all that in there, your page ID. If you know it, you can always put it in. If you don't know it right away, you can just put something temporary, right? Same thing with Instagram user ID. In this case, you should probably know what your domain is, but yourdomain.com, maybe without the typos. Okay, right, and then you can put some UTM tags too, right? UTM source equals Facebook or something, right? So that's what that could look like. And when we put that all in place, we can now generate the sheet. Sorry, we're missing a pixel ID, so we'll do temp pixel, right? So we'll generate the sheet. And now what it's going to do is it's going to work through the rest of this this workflow, and it's going to read all the data that is collected through the step 4 and starts to build the sheet out, right? So we've got 3 tabs. Remember, we've got our campaigns tab, ad sets tab, and ads tab. And so that's what we're doing. We're building out those tabs in these 3 steps, and then it's going to notify us when it's done that the Google Sheets template is ready, right? And so you can actually see it for the GUI. But anyway, we've got everything completed. And now we can open up our sheet. And we have our template generated, right? So you can see here, we've got all these values that are set based in the wizard, right? And the demo ad set name, demo campaign. We could choose, if we want to choose different locations, we could have. And then ads, right? You can see temp, all their temp values are set in there. This template to, put in the actual hash values, for example. You could have put it in right away, like I mentioned, but you can also just put them in here now, right? And then your page ID, if you know it, then you just, right, so page ID, we know this here. So you can start filling it out and using the proper values. And like I mentioned, you can then use it as a template. So you can multiple times and then update each one of these rows to create your new ads. So that's the purpose of the template, right? And if you want to do video ads, then you just go through the whole quiz again, the wizard again, and set it up for video ads. So you can see here, this is image hash, but I have a video template here, and you can see here that the ads is asking for the Facebook video ID instead, right? In this case, this is actually, you can see here, there's only 4 columns for the campaigns tab. And this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because this one is CBO, right? It's a campaign budget optimization campaign, but this one is ABO, is ad set budget optimization. So the ad sets are going to set the daily budget, right? All this to say, right? If you're not following everything, that's perfectly fine. All of this to say is the wizard will help you generate that spreadsheet so that you know how to fill out your, what columns you need to load up into the AI agent without having to guess, oh, which column do I need this column and what value do I put in there? The template handles that all for you, and then all you have to do is just update the values like it asks for, right? Obviously, some of these values have to be actual values, right? Like, so for the Facebook pixel ID, you're gonna actually have to put the pixel ID in there. I just put something temporary there, but you're gonna have to put that in there. But what it's doing here is it's telling you which columns it needs, right? And so that's the value of what we've done here. It's to just help you understand what columns you need to use in the templates to feed into the agent, right? So this hopefully makes the agent a little bit easier to use because I know some of you are thinking with the spreadsheet, so just if you want to adjust it slightly differently from how I showed it in the demo, that you ran into some issue. Okay, so that's the AI agent. Hopefully with the wizard, it'll make it a little bit easier to use. But on top of that, with the additional features we've added, it makes it much more flexible so that all of you can make it your own by being able to have the settings that you need to run the ads in the way that you want. So let's go into each one of these flows in a little more detail. I'll talk through the logic of how it's all created. There are a lot of nodes in all of these workflows, so I'm not necessarily going to go through each node one by one, but I will talk through the logic of what we've done and how we built it so that you have a good starting point for building it yourself. And if you want some help or you kind of want this as a template, then just check out the link in the description. We share this with our program members, so you can always hop in on a trial and get access to that if you want. So that's something you can check out. Just check the link in the description. Okay, so this is the AI agent, right? So we have a Slack trigger. So the Slack trigger is triggered based on a specific channel, right? That's the channel that we were showing earlier here, right? So this channel here, so when we message the bot in this channel, it triggers the agent, and the agent is going to read that message, and it has a system prompt, a system message. It's basically saying, here's the tools that you have, and here are how the tools work. And so if you want to read that, you can pause the video and read through it. But we're saying that we've got these 2 tools, right? One is the sub workflow to upload the images to Facebook, and the other is the sub workflow to create the assets, the campaigns, ad sets, and ads, right? And so that's these 2 workflows that we were just looking at earlier. In addition to this, we've got our OpenAI chat model hooked up. So this is the brains of the agent, right? And so we're using GPT. It's a much cheaper model and not as smart. And it's because this agent is pretty formulaic in the sense of it's got a very narrow purpose, and so we can get away with a model. And we also have some window buffer memory, so it just keeps track of the messages that were sent. And then on top of that, so once it's done running through, it'll just give us an update on what happened, and so that's why you see these updates on, let's say, which assets were created or which images were loaded. It just kind of updates you like that. So that's the agent. Let's jump into the first workflow here. And so this is the workflow to upload the images to Facebook. And so, like I mentioned, there's this folder here where we would drop our media, and it could be videos, it could be images. And what it does is it's going to take those images and upload them to Facebook, right? High level. But what's happening down here is it's going through a few different things. So first, we're grabbing the folder from the agent itself. We've actually specified it, hard-coded it right here because we've just always said that the folder ID is going to be here. If you want it to be variable, you can actually change it like this and have it defined by the model if you want. And then you can chat with the bot and tell it which folder you should be looking. But I like to keep it consistent, which is why I've hard-coded it there. But we actually have a separate branch here. So you can workflow standalone without going through the agent, but that's completely up to you. Okay, so next we have this edit fields node where we specify the folder IDs, the drive IDs, the different folders that we want to put together, right? And because it's actually what we're doing is we're taking these images and we're putting it in a specific processed media folder here, right? So we created a new folder, and we drop the images we've just processed into there so we don't accidentally process the same image twice. What we're also doing is we're generating a file, right? Where we put all the information of the image that we've uploaded, which is this file right here. So what we're doing here, this node is going to check if there's files first, right? And then if there is, then it's going to create this empty sheet to list all our medias, right? So this sheet here, but an empty version of it. And then it's going to move that sheet to the right folder because when you first create it, it gets dropped into the default folder. So we're going to move that sheet to the right folder that we want to put it in, right? And then we create the process data folder that we just talked about. And then we're going to read the files that are in the media folder, right? So we get the file names. And then we're going to pass all that information right here and put the file names into the Google Sheet. So now that we have that in place, we can now work through and see, oh, is this an image or is it a video, right? Because we have the file names, we know what the file extension is, we know if it's a video or a file, and we can sort. We can decide which branch it goes on to. So if it's a video branch, right? And so first, what we're doing is we're doing an API call to upload the video, and then we have to check, is the video done uploading? Because videos can be quite large, it can take some time. So you have to make sure that the video has completed uploading before we move on to the next step. Otherwise, we're not going to have a video ID that we can use to put into our spreadsheet. So we're actually running a loop saying, hey, check every so often, are the videos done uploading, right? And so I only have one video here, but you could put, say, 40 videos all at once. So that process could take a little bit longer. And so we're just going to loop through and just periodically check, are we done uploading? Are we done uploading? And when we're done, we can move to the next step. Simultaneously, right, if you have images instead, it's a lot more simple. Images are often much smaller, so we can just directly go to the marketing API call and get that output. And so we go into this code node here. What this code node is doing is it's sorting through the data that it's getting and pulling out the relevant information. Is it a hash? Is it a video ID, right? And we combine it back together with the file name and update the Google Sheet. And then finally, I'm just going to put that back in here. And finally, we move the files when we're all done to the processed folder so that we don't accidentally run them again. So these files get moved over to the new processed files folder and they will disappear from here, right? And then we get all that information and we put it all together, right? So that's why we aggregate it all and we send it back to our agent so that so our agent can update us in Slack on what happened. So that's what's happening here. That's how we upload the images and the videos to Facebook. And we do all of that to prepare it as an asset that we can then create our ads with, right? Because we don't actually create ads directly with an image. We have to upload them to first. So we have the hash that can then be used in our ads. That's this workflow here, right? Once we've done that, to now create the ads, the campaigns, and the ad sets, right? And so that's exactly what's happening here. So we give it the folder, the file ID, right? So which template we're going to be working off of. And like I mentioned previously, you can have multiple templates so that you can, if you have different campaigns that you want to put together and they have different settings, you can use different templates and just keep yourself organized by naming it so that you can come back to it later and you know which template you want to use. So we grab the campaign parameters, those parameters in our marketing API call, right? We pass the information to Facebook. What it's going to do is it's going to create the campaign and it's going to output an ID. And we use that ID to then feed it back into the next step, right? Because now we're creating ad sets. And if you're creating everything new, then you need that campaign ID because your ad set needs to sit inside of a campaign, right? And so that feed it into here along with the ad set parameters from this tab, right? Because this whole file is our template, which contains data for our campaigns, ad sets, and ads. And so we move on to the second tab, right? The ad sets tab. And we do the same thing. We pass that information to our marketing API call, and it creates the ad sets based on the settings that we provided it, right? And so all this becomes a little bit more complicated here because we have to generate that call using the Facebook marketing API documentation. And so there's a whole format on how that works, and there's a bunch of pages on specifying what information it needs, or if you're doing it this way, then you need to put these types of parameters. If you're doing it this other way, then you need these other parameters, right? And templates are so important so that you get it all right when you're putting it in. So we do the ad sets, and then again, so we pass the ad set ID, right? Because if you need to create your ads into those ad sets, it needs that information, and it will create the ads. And so you have two paths, right? So one path is if it's just the image, a single image or a single video, it'll go down this path, and it's going to be one set of parameters that we have to use, right? And the call is going to use, different fields from like these ones here. But if you're going to use multiple images for that ad, then you need to go down this path, uses a different set of fields and variables. So you don't have to worry about exactly how that all works, which is why I built the template wizard, so you can know exactly which values to use. But just to kind of get a sense of why the template wizard is so important, because it gives you the right columns you need, so that when you go down this path, it doesn't create those errors. And so here what we're doing is we're creating actually the ad creatives, right? And the ad fed into creating the ad. And then once you've done that, it gets all merged back together and feeds it back to the Slack AI agent so that you're updated on what happened, right? And so that's why here we get all the information from the campaigns, ad sets, and ads, because we fed it back to the Slack agent. Okay, and finally, this is our wizard. So in this workflow, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, right? So 4 of those steps are to create the right. So it's kind of like the questions that is it a CBO? Is it going to be a video or image ad? Right? Is it an ABO or sorry, I said that earlier, CBO or ABO. Right? Is it lowest cost or cost cap? Right? So we asked what type of ad are you creating, and so depending on that answer, it's going to change settings we're going to be showing in the following steps, and allows us to then prompt you to fill in that information so we create a proper template for your scenario. And so that's why we have all these code nodes, because it's all conditional on what happened in the step before, right? And so this step will read what we got previously, and then it's going to adjust the questions that you're getting, right? This is why in this case, let's say, for example, in this case, you have bid strategy and daily budget on your campaigns tab, but in this case, you don't have it, right? Because one's actually ABO, the other one's CBO. So there's a lot of other questions like that. They're going to modify which columns you see, but all you have to do is just follow along, and it will prompt you for the columns that it needs. And so there's your campaign settings here, and then you get your ad set settings, get your ad settings, and then it'll compile all that information together to generate the template sheet. So that's the Facebook Ads Loading Agent. It's customizable and one of the easiest ways to remove hours of manual work from growing your store. So if you're serious about scaling, then we believe every Shopify store should have tools like this working in the background for them. We're building more agents just like this, so if you found this one helpful, then you might want to check out our program where you'll get access to all of our newest builds. Link is in the description. But that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.